Okay, good evening to all of our wonderful Year 9 students and parents. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm just here really to welcome you before I hand over to Mr. Mathershaw. Your very attendance tonight shows a real commitment to the progress and achievement of your child, and if you are one of our Year 9 students, a real commitment to your own progress and achievement. Could I have the next slide, please, sir? And one more, please. Thank you. So, as our Year 9 students will know, because I talk about this a lot, when we come to think about what our core purpose is, it is that every one of our students leaves us and is able to go on and lead a happy and fulfilled life. And that is something that is really, really important to us. And I narrate that to the students a lot. And when I describe a happy and fulfilled life, what I'm meaning is that each child has had freedom of choice over their future. So they have lots of doors open to them when they reach the age of 18, and they can choose which door it is they want to go through. And by that act of choice, and by having that choice, ultimately we believe that's what leads to the happy and fulfilled lives. Thank you, sir. And in order to make sure that as many doors as possible are open to our students when they reach 18 at the end of sixth form, the highest possible academic achievement is what we're aiming for, because we know it's those grades that open the door for our students. And as we've said, the more doors that are open, the more choice they have, and the more likely they are to go on and lead a happy and fulfilled life. And really, it all starts here. So your children and Year 9 students, you'll be in Year 10 next year, you'll be starting your GCSE courses and your BTEC courses, and those are 2-year courses. And that's where it gets really important and it gets really serious, because your GCSEs really are the first important benchmark for you. Your GCSEs are something that universities will look at when you apply to them, because when you apply to them, you won't yet have any A-level grades. So what we're going to talk about tonight is thinking about making really sensible choices to make sure you pick the subjects for Year 10 and 11 in which you are going to thrive and be really successful. So we're going to talk about picking subjects that you're really good at, picking subjects that you're really interested in, because then you're going to be motivated to work really, really hard, and then you're much more likely to achieve those really great academic results that are going to really stand you in good stead for the future. Now, I had the pleasure of seeing all of Year 9 in the canteen at lunchtime today, and I asked them all if they would be joining us tonight. And I was so impressed with the mature attitude they've taken towards this process. They're really involved. They really want to be educated about the choices they can make, about the different courses. And I would encourage you throughout the evening to type any questions you have in the Q&A box, and then at the end of the presentation, we will get round to answering all of those questions. Okay, thanks again for joining us this evening. I'm now going to hand over to Mr. Mathershaw. You're on mute, sir. Apologies, I think we're just having a few technical issues.
There we go. Sorry, everybody. As I said, my name is Mr. Mathershaw. I'm one of the vice principals here. It's really important that your children make the best choice that they can at this point. And I'm going to explain why and how they can do that. I'm really looking forward to welcoming you into Year 10 next year, Year 9. And tonight is all about that key information that you need to know about your GCSE, different pathways that we follow here and that we offer here, so that you can make the right choices for your future. So there really has been a lot happening in school recently. Over the last few weeks, students have had the opportunity to attend GCSE options taster sessions after school in all the options subjects. Some students have been excited by the fact that they might choose a new subject to study. So we felt it was important that they had a little taster before they made those important choices. Students have also received assemblies and tutor time sessions where they were given the whole outline of the GCSE courses on offer. They found out about the different topics that they will study on each course, how they will be assessed, and routes available to them should they wish to carry on with the subject into our sixth form and into discrete professions. And finally, every student has been given an options booklet, which has all the information in it that you will need. Please take the time over the next few days to discuss as a family and make these choices together. Any staff member at school would be more than happy to answer questions too. So if you're a Year 9 student, please don't be shy to ask any of those teachers what studying their subject would be like and what they think would be best for you as well. So we're delighted to present to you our Key Stage 4 curriculum. This is a curriculum which will give your child access to the qualifications, the knowledge and the skills that they need to access the very best universities and the best professions. It's a curriculum that will open many doors as possible as they move through each stage of their lives, hopefully onto those best universities and into those best professions, which will, as Miss Welch was saying, in turn fulfill them for the rest of their lives. So really, from this moment, we start a new journey, Year 9, and it begins with making the right choice, working hard throughout Year 10 and Year 11. After that, you will attend our fantastic sixth form, where we will set you up to go on to the very best universities. Recently, we just found out that one of our Year 13s has been accepted into Cambridge to study medicine. This is the most sought after course in the country. And finally, hopefully, a dream career that stems back to the choices that you will make now. I'm well aware that many of the parents listening will be familiar with the old style grading system for GCSEs, with the letters A star right down to G, and we know that an A star to a C would be considered a good pass. Now, as you can see here, that this has now changed. A number 1 is the lowest grade that is awarded, and a number 9 is the highest possible grade that you can get. A grade 5 and above is now viewed as a good pass. Saying that we want all students to achieve the best possible grade that they can achieve is very, very important for us. And for some, that will be a grade 9, and for others, that will be a grade 5. Either way, doors will remain open for students as long as they are achieving grade 5 or above in their GCSEs. We want all students to strive for their very, very best, and we can't ask for any more than that. And it's our job as educators and teachers, and your job as parents, and your job as students, if you're a student listening tonight, to do everything that you can to support and guide and give yourself those opportunities. I also want to take this opportunity to assure you that Lambeth Academy is the right place for you to start that journey. We are an academically excellent school. We're really proud of the improvements that we've seen here over the last 3 years. Each year, our results get better and better, and we're now above average when compared to all the other schools in England. Now, our goal is to be the most successful school in Lambeth, and we are well on our way, and we believe that your children will be the year group that will take us there. So, on to pathways, and you may have seen a lot about this in the options booklet if you've already looked through that options booklet with your child. The Academy has designed specific pathways for its students at Key Stage 4. We ensure students take courses that are suitable for them and give them the very best possible chance of success, of fulfilling their potential and of achieving the very best results possible. A lot of time has been spent deciding suitable pathways for your children. What are the core subjects? Regardless of any pathway that your child chooses, your child will study English literature, English language, maths, science, religious education, and core PE. These are called our core subjects, and they're subjects that every student in the school has to study. But to decide their own options, we have placed them onto 3 pathways. All three pathways the students are required to study English, Maths, Science and RE, as you can see. Well, firstly, on the EBAC pathway, which is the yellow pathway that you can see there, students will study English, Maths, Science, RE, but also a language and a humanities subject, such as geography or history. Then students will have the choice of an additional option subject from a wide range of courses on offer. Secondly, the EBAC option pathway will allow students to study English, Maths, Science, RE, and then choose from 3 options from a wide range of courses to complete a full timetable. So students can choose to take the EBAC if they want to, but they don't have to. This is the blue pathway. And finally, the green pathway, the vocational pathway. Here students will study Maths, English, Science and RE, of course, but they will then choose from a range of other subjects, including a selection of vocational courses like BTEC courses, such as business, and health and social care. So you might be asking, well, which pathway have I been placed on, or my child been placed on, and why? If you check the options booklet, you'll be able to see which pathway your child has been placed on, and then the forms link that your child was sent, that will also tell them as well. But you've been placed on the pathway that we believe will enable you to achieve the highest possible grades, so that you have as many doors open to you for Key Stage 5, that's our A levels and beyond. The decisions that we've made are definitely not rushed, and we would only ever place your child on the pathway that we think they would be most successful on. So what to consider when choosing your option subject? Well, firstly, it's either GCSE or BTEC and vocational courses. If it's a GCSE, expect this is a type of course to give you a grade from 9 to 1, and it consists mostly of examinations that you will take at the end of the 2 years. There are some elements of coursework or controlled assessments in some of the subjects, but in the main, every part of the grade that you achieve in a GCSE will be decided by an exam that you take at the end of the 2-year course. A BTEC course is slightly different. This is a type of course in which you learn about a subject in a more practical, work-related manner. These courses are for those who prefer to be assessed mainly on coursework and enjoy independent learning and practical activities. Now, there will be examinations in BTECs and vocational courses as well, but those examinations can be taken at any point in the 2-year period. There's also a very high emphasis on controlled assessments and coursework at BTEC. And in BTECs, you achieve a pass, a merit, or a distinction. And these courses are the equivalent to 1 GCSE. So in 2015, 1 in 4 students who got to university in the UK did so with a BTEC. 4 out of 5 BTEC students go on to receive a first or second class degree. Now, I'm telling you this because for years there's been a stigma around BTEC courses. They were considered not as academic. They were considered to be things that students who necessarily didn't do very well in school could take. That's not the case anymore. BTEC and vocational courses are incredibly academically rigorous. They've caught up with the rigor of an A level, so that they are now the equivalent, of a GCSE, so that now they are the equivalent of a GCSE qualification. And as this clearly shows, universities are not discriminating against students who take BTECs at GCSE in the main. There are still a number of universities that unfortunately do, but not a great deal of them anymore. As you can see, 65% of employers who recruit staff to skilled roles think it's essential to hold a relevant vocational qualification. So BTEC qualifications often make you really highly specialised in one subject and therefore very employable in the future. So what's important to consider then when we are making our choices? We all want our children to enjoy the subjects that they study, and we're proud that we have such amazing and passionate teachers here at Lambeth Academy who can bring their subject to life. We obviously need to be thinking about the future and the next step on the journey. But in order for your students or your children to enjoy their time at Lambeth Academy, we need to set the students up to be successful, and as successful as they can possibly be. We want them to experience this success in all their subjects. Now, our job as school educators is to give them the knowledge and skills to be successful. achieving the best possible results that will keep as many doors open to them for the next stage of their journey. So what subjects are on offer? As I said, all of you will learn the core subjects, and then your timetable is divided into 3 blocks. These are called our option blocks, and you'll see from here that we have subjects in option block 1, subjects in option block 2, and subjects in option block 3. You must choose one course to study in each of those 3 option blocks. And you'll find all the options in the handbook that's been given to all students and also is on our website. As you can see here, you would choose one subject from each option block. It's really important that you pick the right choices. So what do you consider? What are you going to shape those conversations with your children around? One thing you might want to consider is the subjects that you're already successful in, those that you leave feeling successful, those that you have the highest grades in so far. If you pick the subjects that you're already successful in, the chance of you being successful at GCSE is increased. And that's what's most important. Excellent grades open doors. It's also really important to think about which subjects you enjoy. You'll be studying them for the next 2 years, and they get quite difficult at GCSE. And so you'll have to show tenacity and resilience in order to work through if you feel as though that subject is very difficult. And if you don't enjoy a subject, it might be difficult on a hard day for you to show that tenacity and resilience to succeed. It is also important to think about what you might want to study later on, especially in A-levels and at university. It's important to consider whether you need a GCSE in a subject if you want to take that subject at A-level in the 6th form, and if you do need to have a GCSE in that subject, then obviously that might steer your decision. The other thing to think about is what you actually cover in that subject at GCSE and if that's interesting to you. And you can find out more from the teachers that teach those subjects and that currently teach you about what the GCSE content is like. What are the common mistakes that we make? We want to make sure we're not making those common errors that every year we get students at the end of their choices say, actually, I only chose this because of this reason, and now I don't think that was a good idea. So let's have a look at what some of those regrets or those common mistakes are. Please don't choose an option because your friend is doing it, because the likelihood is that your friend may be great at that subject and has chosen that subject because they enjoy it and they're great. If you choose it because your friends are doing it, you might really come to dislike that subject and you might not find that you're very successful in it. You've chosen it for the wrong reasons, ultimately. You have plenty of time in school, at break and at lunch and before and after school to see your friends. So please make sure that you're choosing based on other factors. Choosing based on who might teach the course is very tricky. We all know that students and teachers have really great relationships at this school, but every year there may be a teacher that we decide to take off A-level to give somebody else the opportunity to teach it. We might find that somebody else has a greater skill set in a particular area. And so, although we do tend to have the same teachers teach A-level year on year because they have expertise in that area, we can't guarantee that. So please don't make that choice or your choice based on that information. Choosing because you've never done the subject before, so it must be great because it's novel and it's new. The novelty factor will wear off 2 or 3 weeks into that subject. So please make sure that you're not swayed by the fact that you haven't studied that subject before. Please don't decide without doing your research. Read the booklet, ask questions, speak to your teachers. That's really, really important as well. Know what you're signing up for when you sign up for it. Please don't decide without discussing it with your family. Your family know you really well. And it's really important for your family to be able to help you decide so that you feel supported, you feel guided, and you make those right decisions. And then finally, please don't decide against a subject because you don't want a career in it. Now, this is important. And I personally felt this when I was choosing my options at GCSE as well, where I was great at a subject, but I didn't really want to go down that route and do a career in it. And so I chose something else, only to realize had I picked that subject, I would have done really well, and I didn't have to do a job that was related to it. So please just think about, what am I really good at? What do I really enjoy? And those things should really steer your decision. In August 2023, Year 9, you will be coming down to the school to pick up your GCSE results. You're going to be nervous. Some of you will be excited, knowing that you have done every single thing that you could do in your power to achieve at Lambeth Academy. The grades that you'll be given will be an accumulation of all the hard work from the team that surrounds you. And that team consists of your teachers, your tutor, your head of year, your family that have supported you at home, but most importantly, at the centre of that team is you. And the hard work that you put in every single day, every single lesson, every single minute of every lesson for the next 2 years. So what now? Well, we'd like you to visit the Year 9 Options webpage so that you can gain some more information from there. We'd like you to have a look through the booklet to inform the choices that you want to make. We'd like you to do your own research. Now, if you're visiting the options page and you're watching the videos on that page and you're reading the booklet, that might be enough research, but actually it might be that you want to go away and speak to some teachers. You might want to speak to some students who are doing GCSEs, and we can always set that up in a COVID secure and safe way so that you can speak to some Year 10s or Year 11s that are currently studying those subjects. And please discuss it as a family. Now, please return your form to Mr. Tuig by Tuesday, the 30th of March. That's really important so that we can then decide how many classes there are. We can start looking at whether or not we think that that's a suitable course for you. And if we feel as though you may be more suited to other courses or other subjects, we can happily have that conversation with you when we look at it. Thank you so much for giving me the time to attend this evening. Remember that if you have any questions, you can go to Miss Payne, you can go to myself, you can speak to Mrs. Welch, or you can speak to Mr. Tuig or Mr. Ung. We will do everything that we can to help you make the right choices for the next 2 years. If you have any questions, I'm going to close this now so I can see those questions, and I will, there we go. Hopefully you can see me now. Let's have a look at the questions there. Okay, so if you're doing a language, can you change it? For example, I'm doing Chinese. I don't want to do that for GCSE because I know a few words. I know a few words. I want to do it in Spanish instead. I want to do Spanish instead. So remember what we said about you're choosing the subjects that are going to lead you to the path of getting the best grades possible. The only thing I would say about switching a subject like languages would be that you've studied Chinese for the last 3 years. So even if you feel as though you're not very good at Chinese and you feel as though you only know a few words in Chinese, it's worth speaking to Miss Wang about that, or Miss Vanate about that, your Chinese teachers, to see what they think about your Chinese and the skills and whether you'd be suited for GCSE. At that point then, you have a choice to make. What I would suggest is that you don't consider French or Spanish at that point, because what will happen is you've missed out on 3 years worth of language teaching that everybody else on that course will have. Now that's going to put you at a massive disadvantage in terms of learning French or Spanish because you'll be so far behind. You'll be 3 years behind the rest of the students on that course. That's an awful lot of catching up to do. So my recommendation would be step 1, go and speak to Miss Wang and Miss Vanate about your Chinese skills to see if you'd be suitable. And then if they don't think you would and you don't want to do Chinese, come and speak to myself or Mr. Ung or Mr. Tuig, and we can have a conversation with you. But I wouldn't recommend choosing Spanish or French as an option instead. Another question here, my child wants to pick 2 GCSEs, but they said that only one option can be chosen. So what we might want to look at is if you look at the option blocks and you think that there's 2 subjects in one option block, unfortunately, the way that it works is you can only pick one subject. And there will be students every year, a very small minority, but there will be some students every year that don't quite get to pick exactly what they would normally choose because those option blocks are created the way they are. We sometimes play around with them, but actually we tend to stick with them the way that they are for a reason, and that's because generally it tends to satisfy most students' choices. And obviously we can't do everything we'd like to do given the limitations that we have in timetabling and options and teaching staff. But if you want more information on that, please come and speak to somebody in school and we can help you make those right choices. What are the number of GCSEs that you do? So you will choose the core subjects, and then you get to choose 3 other subjects. So you'll get your core, and then you'll get your option 1 subject, your option 2 subjects, and option 3 subjects. So if you're on the EBAC pathway, one of those options should be a language, the other one should be a humanities subject like history or geography, and then you'll get that other choice there. I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in and add to any of these. Please just say if you want to. If your child wants to do a computer course in the 6th form and for their future career, what would they choose? Brilliant question. The most sought after qualification for choosing computer science in 6th form, or actually even at university, is maths. So if your child works super hard at maths and they do really well at maths, I know that most 6th forms would expect a 6 or a 7 in maths in order to go on to do computer science at 6th form. So that's the big one. You don't need to study computer science GCSE or any kind of BTEC or CTEC in computer science in order to do it at A level. You just need to do well at maths. I hope that's helped. Any other questions? Let's see. Are children in the yellow group doing triple science? I'm not actually 100% sure, Mr. Ong, I don't know.
Yeah, it is, yeah, that's the EBAC pathway 1.
Fantastic, yes, so yes, they are.
Maybe not all of them, but a large amount of them will be.
Great. I'd really like to do music as an extra GCSE on top of my other 3 choices. Is there any chance that you could support me? What we could do is ask you to speak to Miss Howarth. She's our head of music and she can assess your musical ability. And then it really depends on whether or not you're coping with your GCSEs. What we wouldn't want for you to do is to do another GCSE on top of the GCSEs are very demanding. So what we don't want you to do is to choose your GCSEs, then pick an additional one, which is music, and then you get worse grades across all of them because you're spreading yourself very thinly. We've seen this happen at A level sometimes where students choose 4 A levels instead of 3, and they might be very, very bright, but they spread themselves so thinly that they lose out on those top university places because they haven't got the best grades they could possibly get. So we'll talk about it because there's a potential opportunity, but we would need to consider lots of different factors before we agree to that one. Why do some people get less options than others? Primarily because some students are being asked to study a language and a humanities subject, and some students get greater choice. And that doesn't come down to your academic ability necessarily, it comes down to the way you work a lot of the time. So lots of students who might not cope as well with end of year assessments and end of year exams where everything is studied all in one go, might do better on a BTEC course where, as I said, things are chunked a little more easily and there are exams throughout and along the way. But that's really the main reason why we look at how you learn and what we think you could achieve the best grades in. Can we manage to keep this live lesson to be recorded so we can keep it looking back on it? I don't know if we have, but what I'm more than happy to do is re-record it and pop it on the website. So if it hasn't been recorded tonight, I'm sure it has. If it hasn't, I'll re-record it and we'll pop it on the website as soon as we can.
Sarah, I'm just going to interject. There's one you've just missed. I don't want to do Chinese for GCSEs, though, even though you think it's best for me, I don't enjoy it and I don't want to do it. I would say there that, again, go and speak to your Chinese teacher and just kind of evaluate that decision. But if it's not something you enjoy, then we're actually asking you to reconsider that then. So you shouldn't be choosing subjects that you don't enjoy. We want you to have a passion in the subjects you do. but do speak to your Chinese teacher before finalising that choice. What is the reserve box? The reserve box is on the form, is a backup option, just in case we're unable to give you the option that you've chosen.
Right.
When are we actually going to choose? The forms need to be completed and back to Mr. Tuig by the 30th of March. So that's in 5 days' time. So in a week's time, basically. A few more questions coming in, so I'm just going to publish them.
Great stuff, thank you. Feel free to type any question that you might have. And if we can't answer it, we'll get back to you. Hopefully we can.
My child is on the EBAC pathway and I want to do 2 GCSE options. Can this be arranged? What I would suggest is, could you send your child into school tomorrow to find myself or Mr. Tuig or Miss Payne, and we can sit down and go through their options, because there will be cases where actually we could maybe look back at the decision that was made and speak to the student about what needs to be done. My child wants to do sociology and media studies. Is that possible to do both with the same yellow GCSE path? I think it all depends on the option blocks and whether you're able to do all 3. Sometimes, like Mr. Mathershaw alluded to, there's some options that clash and therefore you're unable to do them both. But if they're in different separate blocks, then I don't see why not. If you are in set 2 for science, can you do triple science? So you might be a bit more familiar with this one. I think it's quite unlikely, isn't it?
Yeah, so what we normally find is we would normally have a class of about 30 studying triple science. They would be students that are likely to have the best chance of getting a 7 in biology, chemistry and history. So that would be a conversation with Mr. Okoji and Ms. Patel, really, to see whether or not, if you're in set 2, you've shown over the last 3 years, I guess, the willing and the effort and the knowledge that you have. We certainly wouldn't, if you have shown all those things, then we certainly would we would consider that. But yeah, I think just have a chat with them and see what they say, and then come and speak to either Mr. Ung or Miss Payne if you have any questions there.
Yeah. What if the teachers choose a subject the child doesn't want to do and it's not going to benefit them? What I'd say there is, we do a number of subjects we're in doing our GCSEs, and there's going to be some that we're not necessarily passionate about, but these subjects tend to open more doors for you when it comes to college, sixth form and then university. And therefore, some of these subjects benefit you further down the line. And at the time, you may not feel like you're going to go down a career path with them, but they will open doors for you to enable you to go to different areas you wish to in life.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just reading a couple. If you fail GCSEs, can you still go to sixth form? Sir, do you mind to do that one while I just look for another?
Of course. So really, it depends what you mean by the word fail. I think that there are many opportunities available to you, regardless of the grades that you get at GCSE. Now, clearly, if you want to study if you want to study A-level courses rather than BTEC courses at Key Stage 5, you would need to get 6s, 7s, 8s and 9s in the vast majority of your subjects. And there are some subjects like economics, which we run here, where you would need to get a 7 in maths. So if you want to study A-levels, you need to get 6, 7, 8 or 9 in the vast majority of subjects. If you don't get that and you're getting 5s and 6s in most of your subjects, we would recommend you do a BTEC Key Stage 5 pathway, and we do things like BTEC Science, BTEC Sport, BTEC Health and Social Care, BTEC Business, BTEC Music. We're looking at running BTEC Dance. So there's a huge range at A-level that we offer for students who get below that. If you're getting 4s and below, we would probably recommend that sixth form here at Lambeth might not necessarily be the place for you to study, and it might be that there are other courses at a college that would benefit you, but there are still options open. So yeah, I think if you go into year 10 thinking I want to get the very best grades possible and I'm going to work towards a goal, which is to get into the sixth form to do whatever course it is you really want to do, I think that's absolutely the best thing to do then, and you don't really need to worry about failing.
Sir, another one probably for you. Can you study A-level science and go on to study medicine if you do not do triple science?
So this is a tricky one. And the reason is because when students pick chemistry, biology or physics for A-level and they haven't done triple science, that's always a conversation between myself and Mr. Okoji. And we look at all of the work you've done at GCSE. We look at the grades you've achieved, and you would need to really be getting 7s or 8s or 9s. So 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9 in your combined science, if you haven't done triple, in order to be considered. But we have definitely had students here that have gone on from combined science with 7s or 8s into A-level and then gone on to university to study science. So you're absolutely fine. You don't have to do triple to do science at A-level. That's correct. But you do have to get a really great grade in your combined science in order to study chemistry, biology or physics. And it doesn't stop you. Of course, you can still be a doctor, you can still do medicine, whether you do triple or combined.
Getting a few questions just about sociology. I presume sociology is an option, sir?
Yes.
Yes, so if you're not seeing sociology on your form, it may be because of the pathway you've been placed on, where it's not available to you. If you are really passionate about the subject and really want to inquire whether you can study or not, I do recommend you bring in your form and come and speak to myself or Mr. Tuig or Mr. Mathershaw tomorrow, and then we can go over some options for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What is coursework? Coursework, independent work that you build up over the course of the year with your teacher, and it replaces essentially exams. So you show what you're capable of in your subject through work you produce, like it might be essays and so on for each part of your subject, rather than doing an exam, which suits a lot of people. And that's often the way that BTECs operate. You produce coursework. So we've got quite a few coming in, sir. Sorry.
This is good. The more questions, the better, guys. We'd rather you be really well informed when you make these choices. So ask as many questions as you'd like to.
What will be the best option, GCSE or BTEC, if you want your child to apply for an apprenticeship?
I would say if you want your child to study an apprenticeship after A-levels, then it really doesn't matter, to be honest. The BTEC routes, more students tend to go nationally, more students tend to go down the apprenticeship route from a BTEC course. But actually at this school, that's not necessarily the case. We have we have every student who is doing a BTEC going to university next year. So it doesn't really make a difference. I think what is most important is that the skill set that those really great apprenticeships are looking for are matched by your child. So, and they're extremely competitive. I've got to say that, you know, the best apprenticeships in the country that you'd want your children on are so competitive that they need to stand out. So this is where things like the Duke of Edinburgh, which we do at A-level, the Excellence in Thinking project that we do, all of the great things we do at A-level, which will really help to make your child stand out for an apprenticeship, are going to be so important in that case. But it doesn't make a difference, BTEC or A-level, both fine.
What's the difference between a BTEC and a GCSE, sir?
They are equivalent. So really, they really are, they're worth the same. So GCSE is a more academic based subject, I guess, where there's lots of study, there's lots of reading, there's lots of work, and you're tested at the end of the 2 years for your grade. With a BTEC, it's more practical. There's still lots of study, there's still lots of reading, there's still lots of work, but it's far more work related and it's more practically based. And throughout the year, you will have mini exams, unit exams that you can take and you can bank that will go towards your end of unit pass, merit or distinction. But they are equivalent. One BTEC is also worth one GCSE and one GCSE is worth one BTEC. So it's only really the difference is the way that you learn on that course. It's not really the kind of what they're worth.
Great. We've got 19 questions here, so I'm going to try and just summarise a few of them. What will be the best option if you want your child to study medicine? Well, they really need to obviously be doing the sciences, which all students are. It's for all students have to do during GCSEs. But when it gets to sixth form, they really need to be choosing chemistry, biology, and physics. And really and truly, most medicine degrees would require you to have a high grade in those at A level. So recently we had a student attending Cambridge to study medicine. I presume they studied all of those at A level.
So yeah, minus physics. So we've got two students going off to do medicine, one at Leeds and one at Cambridge this year. And they both do chemistry and biology. And what's very interesting actually is that you only really need chemistry to do medicine, but the vast majority of universities ask for chemistry with biology as preferable, but I find it very strange that most universities say chemistry is an absolute essential A level to have. But remember, as I said, it doesn't matter whether you do triple or combined. What really matters is the grade that you get at the end of that, because it's the grade that will open doors for you, not necessarily the course itself.
Thank you, sir. Just going to read a couple. If you want to go to uni that doesn't need a language, but you're being forced taking it, but you don't like it, can you drop it? This goes back to kind of, it might not be something you envisage yourself using in the future, a language. I studied a language, for example, French, but I knew I never wanted to use it at university level or for my career. But the benefits of studying a language are so vast. And actually, what you'll find is studying a language displays that you can learn a language. And it's a really attractive thing for sixth forms and also universities to see. And so we really do push you to study a language because it will open more doors for you, not necessarily for you to go on and pursue the language itself, but it enables you to open more doors for other colleges and universities. Sorry, sir, just a couple more.
That's fine.
Is the pathway based on ability?
So I don't believe in ability, to be fair. I believe in hard work. And I think that what the pathway is based on is the propensity for retention of knowledge. What I mean by that, I guess, is if you are somebody who manages to remember a lot of information, can process it very quickly, and at the end of 2 years can perform well in an exam, then it's likely that we've popped you on one pathway because we feel like that's the one that you're going to get the best grades on. If you're not that kind of learner, and remember, we know lots about you, and we've made these decisions very, very carefully after lots of talking with lots of different people. If you're not that kind of learner, then we've maybe thought another option is best for you. But it's not really based on, ability is this idea, I think, which is, if you work really, really hard, you can be successful at anything, basically. But it's how you work that's really important. And if you work academically, then we've popped you on one option pathway. If you don't necessarily work very academically, but you're still really hardworking and you want to achieve well, we might have popped you on the other.
Great. And then I would say this is the final question. Can you change your option subjects once you start them? The answer is it can be done, but we strongly recommend you don't. The idea behind the taster sessions is that you are able to experience the variety of options we have. And so ideally you get it right the first time, and that's why we've held tonight's event. That's why we've put so much effort in the book and the taster sessions. If you still want to change it this year, so you make a decision and then you, in a month's time, decide actually it might not be for you, that's much easier. However, once we start in September, we really just want everyone to be set on the courses so you don't kind of fall behind. So that would be ideal. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's a very short window for you to change that. You'll make that change, and the vast majority, I think every year we have maybe 2 or 3 students that might want to change a course, but the idea is that if it gets more than a week into a course, you've probably missed too much information to then pick that up because you've missed the foundation stuff. So Mr. Ung is right, there's a very tiny window at the very beginning of year 10 that we would consider changing courses, but it's not really done yet.
Okay, and one more has just come through. How will we be put into classes? I've asked Miss Payne and she's mentioned scheduling and academics. What does that mean exactly? I guess the way you're put into classes depends. Sometimes we have such a small cohort in certain subjects that there'll just be one class. In geography, for example, we're predicting a large amount of students and we've created 4 classes. We're not doing this by any kind of academic ability as far as I'm aware, and the teaching is the same across the board. So, for example, I'll probably be teaching 2 Year 10 classes next year, and so they'll have the same standard of teaching. So, in fact, it just almost depends on the uptake for the subject.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's all, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And please remember that if you have any questions, just contact us. We know how important this is for you if you're in Year 9, and for you if you're a parent. You know, you want to get this right and you want to set your children up for the highest levels of success that you can. But know that we want that too. So we want to work with you in order to make sure that your children can be as successful as they can be in Year 10 and 11. That can set them up for that life that Ms. Welch was talking about at the very beginning of the presentation. So thank you for joining us. Any other questions, feel free to email or call the school and we'll get straight back to you. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.